Hey everyone, it is Chala Dinkoy. Welcome to the usual, here we go, here I can see myself, the usual Tuesday Tea Time with Chala. Here I am with another protein drink, and it has taken me a long time to get into. I swear, every time I try to log into my Facebook, like a number of people working on my Facebook, I always have to change my password. I always have to get, authentication. I mean, these are great things to do, especially since I was hacked, but it takes me a long time. So here I am. Hopefully, you can see me, hear me. This is live. I am here to talk about virtual versus in person conferences. I have spoken, I have networked, I have attended both, especially of course the virtual in the last year and so, and I continue to learn from both. uh, you know um, I continue to learn a lot from both being a participant and a presenter in these things, and I've seen ones that have worked and other ones that haven't worked for my business. I can't speak for any other anybody else, whether they're selling or they're buying or they're learning, whatever it is that they're doing. But when I found this, and I was curious to see if other people are experiencing the same kind of decline of interest, learning, conversion, sales, and everything ver- versus the in person. And so I looked it up and I found a study that was done in May 2020. And I always base these, Tuesday tea times on some form of education because, and because of research, because it informs my thoughts and it gives me sort of credence about what I'm feeling, sensing, hearing from my clients and in the market, and one as a business owner and two as a marketer. So there was a lot of good stuff in here in terms of learning, and it's very interesting. So I'm in Canada. We're still in lockdown. In fact, the kids went back to lockdown in Toronto. Well, in the GTA, not in Toronto, but in Peel. So in Logan's school, he was very bummed, and they had 24 hours notice to find out that they were not going to be going back to school, and that in fact they'll be doing Zoom learning right until and including the school camp. It was going to be a March break, so he's back home for two weeks. But the biggest thing on everybody's mind is it's not going to last 2 weeks, right? It's never going to happen. They're saying, and he's saying, like an 11-year-old is saying, it's never going to happen. It's going to be much longer. And considering, I think I was reading, it takes 80% of the population being vaccinated to be mass, safe. It's We're still a long way off from that. But I know that in the U.S., you guys are traveling. You're doing all sorts of stuff, and pretty much everybody's vaccinated. Most of the people that I've talked to, they've gotten their second one. So, and it doesn't matter; they're like younger than me. So it's wonderful, and I'm happy for you. And so, what I'm finding out from all my clients in the States is you guys are going to be doing sort of hybrid events, and that's great. Um, but here's what the research says about virtual versus in person. So this was a study conducted in May 2020, and there was 1,000 participants in the U.S. And the study was done by a company called Promo Leaf. It's obviously a conference company. As I drink my post-workout hot chocolate, my protein hot chocolate. Okay, so the first thing that we found out in this research is, guess what? 72% of people prefer in person. And the reasons why they cite is because, one, the networking is better in person, the ability to gauge body language and cues are better in person versus online, and the ability to watch demos and to conduct demos, and to let people do anything experiential is much reduced in the virtual setting. So those are some of the reasons why, like overwhelmingly, 72% prefer in person. Now, in terms of learning, a lot of people are saying that they're not learning as much. So this is very interesting. So there was a study done at the community college, at a community college, and it was called the Community College Research. And they found that students who were doing long virtual learning were less likely to finish their courses, and they had a higher likelihood of dropping out more if they were doing the courses just virtually. So this study talks about that study because it's really scary if virtual conferences that are meant to teach are teaching less because there's less involvement because you're not in person. So that's the other question mark about virtual learning. The third point about this survey is about the cost. Nobody wants to pay. Nobody wants to pay. Um, Over a third, 35%, only said they would pay only less than $100 for a virtual event, virtual conference, and 45% said, okay, we'll pay between 100 and 200. And some of the reasons are, they just don't see the value if they don't come into an expensive venue, if they're not given certain, like the food, if they don't see the light show and the flash work and the stage and the sound. They just don't see the cost. They're like, where is the cost? And so that's the other point, is they don't understand the costs that are involved in a virtual conference. And there are costs, obviously. And so the other thing is, of course, at the beginning of the pandemic, I remember Googling free training, and there were like millions of hits. Free training pandemic. That was the Google search words. And the reason for that was because everybody and their brother, including me, were offering free training, free webinar, free this, free that, and it was all to try to sell something. So when a conference is put on virtually, it gets confused with that online education that's queued up to sell something. So that's why people are resisting paying for it. And then, of course, this one's a big one for me. There's no networking. I mean, I've tried. There have been, God bless them, there have been conferences where I've seen different types of attempts at networking. One, I've seen virtual tables where you actually get into and knock on, the room, and you're let in, and you ask to be seated with people that are in the room, and you look to see who's at the table, which is like really funny. And then there's the other kind that I've seen where you're broken out and shot into different groups automatically in the Zoom breakouts, and then you try to interact with the people that are there within a timeline that's got a countdown clock. But either way, none of it has really been as effective as being in person. That's for me, but this is what everybody's saying, is that they're not willing to pay because there's that element missing for them. And for my part, if I'm not speaking at a conference, the only way that I get business is through networking. Like if I'm not exhibiting or speaking at a conference, and typically, I used to speak at so many conferences that I never ever went to any that I didn't speak at. So I don't really even know. I can't remember a conference that I just went to network at, but that's how I started when nobody knew me and I couldn't get any speaking slots at the conferences. I would just go and network, and that's how I actually got to speak at the conferences. So that's why people don't want to pay for virtual, don't want to pay as much. They don't want to pay in some case at all. The other part of the research talks about the length. So, the length of a conference used to be, the ones that I used to go to were minimum 2 to 3 days. Some of them went into 4 to 5 days with the shoulder events and the pre-events and the post-events and all these things. But 59% want it to be 1 day. In fact, 59% want it to be 1 or 2 hours maximum as a virtual conference. It's unbelievable. And so in-person length, if it's going to be in person, the conference length that was more than 1 day, 19% of people said they would prefer that, versus virtual If it was going to be more than one day, only 3% said they would go. So if it was going to be more than one day in person, 19% their game, 19% said they would attend, but virtually, if it was going to be more than one day, only 3% said they would attend. And the reason for that is because when people, like when I go to a conference, and typically when people go to a conference, they're traveling for it, especially in the States, because everything is, um, everybody is so mobile. So it's just a matter of course that you either, pack up your team and go, or you yourself, you know, take whatever you need to pack up your office and go, but you travel. And so you're taking yourself away from your business and your family. And when you're doing that and you're plunking down the expense of flying there or driving there and then staying there, it makes sense for you to stay for more than one day, especially if you're going to be interfacing with the people in that industry, right? Or people in that group that you find enough value to pay for this event for. But there's no need for you to be there virtually if you can't even do that more than you need to. So it's like a hit in and out, a quick in and out. The big question, of course, is live versus tape. Now, who wants a live stream versus a recorded or a replay? And 46% prefer, so that's almost half prefer the live with the Q&A. And in fact, that's the basis. And let me just take a sip. That's the basis of the live launch method that I learned from Kelly Roach. Is they're saying how, webinars are dead, slides are dead. You got to be live so that you can handle as if in person, that there's nothing standing between the speaker and the audience. It's just like you're in person. You're taking their questions, you're interacting with them, you're joking with them, they're writing back and forth to you. So that's one of the things I learned during the pandemic. So I'm not surprised at all that 46% prefer the live with the Q&A. Now, 40% want both live and recorded. Because, the thing about the recording, of course, is that you can watch it, stream it, listen to it while you're washing dishes, cutting up carrots, getting ready for bed, waking up first thing in the morning, whatever it is. So it's really, it's on your time. But most people still want live. Most people still want, if they can't get it in person, at least as close to in person as possible, like this, right? This is a live stream. I do it every Tuesday, no matter where I am, no matter what I'm doing. I research the topic. I find something of value to talk about so that I can give you the value, right? And then I write about it. So that becomes my blog. So the last couple of bits of information about this, live versus in-person conferences is, for whatever reason, Wednesday seems to be the most preferred. Like almost over a third of the people wanted Wednesday as that conference day. And Tuesday was the next best conference day, but Monday was like a no, let's not go there. And then every group would prefer mornings. And I had to chuckle at this one, that 55 plus age group was the highest preference for mornings. There were 66% prefer. And I figure that's because their energy runs out. I'm not there yet, but I can understand. I definitely like to go to bed as early as I can, especially at those things. Those things suck the energy out of me. So, in conclusion, most people still want the in-person back. And I know what's happening around revenge travel. And next week I'm going to talk about, I found another amazing study about consumer expectations, and it's all very, very, very positive. And not only that, but most people are planning to spend their brains out, and especially in the industries that they haven't been able to, like the revenge travel that I'm telling you about. And that's what one of the podcast hosts and I were talking about this week, is whether people are going to be going back to the office, or if it's going to be like all virtual offices. And he was saying how sorry he feels for the commercial real estate industry, and how they're all decimated and no one's going back to the office. And based on, if I look at this data, people are dying to go back in person. And what kind of hybrid that turns into, I don't know. But let me tell you, people are most people are dying to go back to in person. And once most people are vaccinated and they feel safe enough to do so, I think you're going to see a huge return to in person, you guys. Um, and there's allegedly tons of sold out destinations of travel and tours and cruises, of all things, with people just waiting to do this. So, the future is bright. People are waiting to spend money. In person, still where it's at. As soon as they open the borders, I'm going to be coming down again. I mean, I have a visa to work in the US, and honest to God, we haven't been able to use it. I had just gotten it before the pandemic and haven't gotten the chance to use it. I mean, obviously I'm available online for my clients. Obviously, we've ported all the in-person meetings to Zoom, and in some cases it's worked out better, but the networking portion and some of the delivery portion still obviously needs to be done in person. So I hope that was helpful, you guys. I hope you are keeping safe. I hope if you want to, you've gotten vaccinated. I have clients who are refusing to be vaccinated, and that's okay too, as long as everybody feels safe and they're keeping safe. It's great. And so we can go back to business as usual and even better. That's all from me for today, Tuesday Tea Time with Chala. All the best, everyone. Take care.